Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Amud Yom shiur. Hope you can hear me. So we are in Daf Sadi Zayin Amud Beis, Sadi Zayin Amud Beis, in the two dots. Sadi Zayin Amud Beis, Mokum Shetir Tzatanuach. That's where we start, and the words are Shita. Yeah, we're discussing today. We're discussing the topic of zrika, of throwing items in Rishus Harabim, either from Rishus Harabim or Daladamis in Rishus Harabim. And we all know that if a person throws an object from a certain point, Daladamis onwards, and then he lands past these Daladamis, then halacha is the Yerchayev, Chayev Chatas, it's Osir, V'chulei. This is for you. Basically, now we come to a new question. Pshita. Says the Gemara, Pshita, it's simple, that's self-understood, self-explanatory, simple. Niskaven lizrok shmoina v'zorak arba. A person had in mind to throw 8 amas, and he threw only 4 by mistake. Not such a great shooter, and he meant to cover the distance of 8, and then the object should land, but instead it fell short. It landed 4 amas away and not 8. Question is he chayiv or not? Says the Gemara, of course he's chayiv. Seemingly not, like we said yesterday. The Gemara says, Harikosav Shem Mishimen, which means we have a concept which we're going to see in Daf Kuf Gimel, seems to be agreed by the Tanoim. Basically, the Gemara says later that if a person wanted to write the word, the name Shimon, Shin Mem Ein Vav Nun, and basically instead of Shin Mem Ein Vav Nun, the person wrote Shin Mem and stopped. So he's chayiv. Why is he chayiv? Although the intention was to write Shim on 5 letters, he stopped after Shin Mem. Since the rules regarding Kosev are, you have to write 2 letters, and the 2 letters have to make sense, and the word Shin Mem, Shem, the word Shem is a sensible word. The Gemara discusses soifis and not soifis. It's not a discussion. Shem is a word, yes, and Shin Mem are 2 letters. Although you meant to have you had bigger and better plans to write Shimon, and you stopped after Shin Mem, which wasn't your intention originally, you're chayiv. Because, as the Gemara will say later, at the end of the day, the halachic parameters are there, and you're happy with Shin Mem. You'd like to have more, and you'd continue to have more. But Shin Mem is not against your will. You just didn't finish the job. So you chayiv on Shin Mem. So the Gemara wants to say the same thing would be if you wanted to throw 8 and you threw 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So if you want to throw 8, and 4, he wanted 4. It's part of the job, even though he didn't finish the job. That's what the Gemara thinks as a pashut, a clear thing. So you chayiv. Okay. However, comes the question: Niskaven lizroik arba, the other way around, the opposite case. Niskaven lizroik arba, the person wanted to throw the object daladamis. V'zarak shmoine, he is stronger than he thought he is. He wanted to throw 4 amis, and whoop, it fell even further 8 amis away. The journey was longer, bigger than the original plan. Mahu, what would be the halacha here? Because these daladamis were not planned at all. He had no plan for the second daladamis, the 8. Miamrina, do we say ha'api klei? Do we say, listen, at the end of the day, 4, the more the better. You have it out to the street, you have it further away. Okay, shine. If not 4, 8, even better. Or dilma echedebai haloinach, or maybe not. It wasn't the original plan. He wanted to aim to shoot at 4, and it aimed at 8. So because it's too far, maybe you're not chayiv. Okay, that's a question. Meaning the difference is when I want to cover 8 and I covered 4, for sure the 4 I wanted. 4 are included in 8. 8 are not included in 4. That's the difference. I wouldn't tell you too much because the Gemara is going to break apart this whole thing. If you remember what we just said before the 2 dots, you'll see that nothing here makes sense. Because the Gemara right away asks the question, And the question, and the Gemara right away is going to refute what we're saying. Excuse me. Both the pshita and the question are totally wrong. We said before the two dots, Ravina told Rav Ashi regarding the previous story with the Kluta Kamisha, right? There's right outside of Shuf and there's further away, because unless the person says, I don't mind wherever it lands in Rishus Harabim, if you don't say that, but you dafka aim at 4 or at 8, and your kavana was not fulfilled, you're potter. When it comes to it, so we have a rule, which makes sense. If what I wanted wasn't actually fulfilled, then I'm potter. And it's a form of misasek. In other words, I am absolutely not fulfilling what I wanted. That, of course, brings the question. Now, when it comes to 4 that turned into 8, clearly, I wanted 4. Oh, it flew all the way to 8. Lo el hanar zeis palalti. It's not what I wanted, right? Mishenken, maybe you'd say if I wanted 8 and I covered 4, maybe that's like Shem Shimon. It's a stira. You're telling me when it comes to hoitzah, if it's not exactly where I wanted it to land, I'm not chayiv. B'Shem Shimon, we don't say that. B'Shem Shimon, we say that half a job is a job. What's the difference? Shem Shimon is half the name, and here 4 is half of 8. What's the difference? That's the Gemara's question now. Frag the Gemara, v'dekaoma tarikos of Shem Shimon. You wanted to compare that to Shem Shimon writing half of the word that I wanted? Mi dami. That's not the same at all. Why? It's not the same. Hosom kama delo ksiv Shem lemichtiv le Shimon. Over there, you cannot possibly write the letter, the word, the name Shimon without writing Shin Mem. You can't build the 10th floor without the first floor. When you write Shimon, you have to write Shin Mem. Stop right there. Shin Mem Ein Vav Nun. You have to have Shin Mem. And therefore, as I already told you before, when you draw a picture, when you write something, you can do it in installments. You're very happy. This is the end of the first stage. You're beginning Sefer Stam. You're a beginner. Shin Mem, right? Tomorrow, after a cup of coffee, you'll write Ein Vav Nun. The Shin Mem is decent as part of the job, and it's necessary for the entire job to have that first stage. And halacha stops right there, freezes you, and says, hey, you wrote 2 letters? And they make sense. You're grilled. You're in. That Shem Shimon, as opposed to our case. Why is our case different? Hacha over here. When you don't throw 4, you can't throw 8. Well, the answer is, of course, I have to write to throw 4 for 8. But over here, it landed. It doesn't make sense. In other words, he didn't fly 4. Well, there's no kluta kimishuncha here. No. It landed. It really physically landed after 4 amas. That wasn't part of the plan at all. It landed too early. You don't need to land at 4 in order to make it to 8. If anything, it contradicts it. You take a plane to New York, and because of something security, you landed in London halfway through. No rotzen whatsoever, right? That's what happened here. Mamish wanted to fly all the way to America. It fell in England. It's not your rotzen, right? You wanted 8, not 4. It's true that 4 included in 8, but not the landing of the 4. The Rambam argues, I'm not going to the Rambam now, we have enough on our plate today. Basically, according to Rashi, 4 that 8 that 4, nothing works. Clear in Rashi, and I also saw it in the Noise Kelim of the Rambam. Yeah, I saw it today just to make sure that's clearly shot in Rashi. What you want is what you get. If you got a different result than what you want, when it comes to landing in place X instead of place Y is not what you want. Ever took a plane, there was an accident, something, you land in the wrong place. It's not what you want. So you putter either shorter or longer. Shem Shimon is different. Shem Shimon is like I started drawing a picture, I stop, I'll continue tomorrow. But the first stage is essential. I'll continue more. It's not a steer, it's a beginning, not a contradiction. Therefore, Shem Shimon Yuchayv. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Can keep it simple. Now comes a beautiful, different piece of the Gemara. Tono Bonon. 2 dots. So imagine yourselves, you have a Rishus Harabim, okay? Then you have a house with 2 windows and another Rishus Harabim, and you basically threw an object, Rishus Harabim, through Rishus HaYochid into, and it landed, landed in the other side of the house, the other Rishus Harabim. Lachish, my house, I alone. I'm sorry for the Americans who don't know the geography of Mad B'Shemesh. My house is between Nachal Ayalon and Nachal Lachish. Yeah, basically, you want to throw through my house, but Vakasha, the way my house looks, Ben Azmani, with all the teenagers, you can throw. I won't even notice. It's fine with the grandchildren. The kids are, yeah. You throw from one Rishus Harabim through Rishus Yochid, and it lands in another Rishus Harabim. Now the story is as follows. The Daled Amos here, says Rashi, they consist of 2 and 2. You threw 2 Amos in one of Shus Rabim, it flew through Shus Yochid, and it only made a journey of 2 Amos in the other Shus Rabim. Yeah? Do we join the 2 Shus Rabims to say a total of Daled Amos, or do we say no? Each one is separate, they're separated by the house. Do we say 2 and 2 are 4, or no? Math doesn't always work. So we say, Chayev, yes. Says the Gemara, yes, you are. 2 of one Rishus Harabim through Rishus Yochid, and another 2 Rishus, the different Rishus Harabim, another 2 flew, and that was his kavanah, and then landed 2 of one Rishus, 2 of another Rishus. Together we have a total of 4, although these are 2 Rishus Harabim that are totally separate, and we're Mechayivim and Daled Amos, which is a big Kiddush if you remember what to learn to Daf Pei. Let's continue now. Let's say the journey of the object was less than Daled Amos. Let's say it was 2 Amos, then the house, then 1 Amma and Potu. Only on 3 Amos and Potu. You're asking what's a Chiddush? It flew through the house. Remember Mr. Kluta? He's a good friend. If we would believe in Kluta Kemishahuncha, then I would be chayev on Hachnasa, and I saw. I brought into the house, it ki'ilu landed, and then again from the house to the street, and we don't say that. If I don't have 4 on the sides of Rishus Harabim, the mere fact that I entered Rishus Yochid and exited Rishus Yochid doesn't mean anything, because we don't believe here in Kluta Kemishuncha. What I'm saying, I'm wasting my energy because the Gemara is going to say it now. Zog the Gemara, my Kamash Malan, what's the Chiddush? Hakamash Malan, Rishuyas Mitztafos. Chiddush number 1, Rishuyas Mitztafos, which means, although you have Rishus Harabim, Nachal Ayalon, Rishus Harabim, Nachal Lachish, 2 streets, which halachically are separate of Rishus Yochid, which in Daf Pei we said is a very strong separation. We do put 2 and 2 together, and we say that although it's 2 Rishusim, we join them up, and you do have the chiyuv of Daled Amos Rishus Harabim. Rashi says that this is against the shit of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi there, if you remember, he said, what happens if I'm in the house and I throw half a grogeres? Remember grogeres? Yeah, good old days? Half a grogeres to one street, and another half a grogeres to another street in the same halem, I'm potter. Because it's 2 Rishus Harabim that don't join. And here Rashi says we do join here. So here we argue in Rabbi Yossi. That's what Rashi says. Yeah. The 2 Rishus Harabim that join up to create the chiyuv. And what's the second chiddush? We don't believe in Kluta Kemishahuncha, which is a halacha, although we have, I would say, who cares about the distance outside? The mere fact that you threw from the house from the street to the house, and then it flew through to Rishus Harabim, maybe the existence in Rishus Yochid, it's as if it bounced, boom, boom, it killed Hanocho, boom, again, Akira. So I should be chayiv too. We don't believe in it. We don't believe in Kluta Kemishahuncha. Rabbi Akiva does, others do, but not us, not this brisa. Okay? Now come to the main story. You have the Dirshu booklet because they have very good diagrams here. We need diagrams today. In the back, in page in page Sadiches. I mean, yeah, I open it for you. Right, so let's continue. We're people watching us online. Omar of Shmuel. Apologize. Omar of Shmuel bar Yuda, Omar of Abba, excuse me. Omar of Shmuel bar Yuda, Omar of Abba, Omar of Huna, Omar Rav. Hamavir Daled Amos B'Rishus Harabim Mekure Potu. As we already saw previously in the first parak, you know the 11th parak is an excellent chazor on the first parak. Basically, if you Mavir Daled Amos B'Rishus Harabim, that is Mekure. It's Rishus Harabim, 16 Amos. 600,000 people, wide, good. It's a thoroughfare. Machne Yehuda has parts of it have an awning, have like a roof on top. If your Rishus Harabim has a roof on top, it's in other places in the world also, I saw it. then it's not called Rishus Harabim D'Oraisa. It's not mutter, in the Rabbanon it's also, because it's similar to Rishus Harabim. In the D'Oraisa, it's not called Rishus Harabim. Carmelis, good. I like the question, Akiva. It's a Carmelis. Very, very good question. It's a Carmelis. In Rishus Harabim, it's a Carmelis. In Rishus Harabim, that's missing an ingredient is usually not always a Carmelis. Yeah, very good. Good question. It's a Carmelis. Yeah, we saw it in many places, right? Rishus Harabim, where people don't walk so much on the sides, it's a Carmelis. So now it's a Rabbanan made a Gzera. Why is that so? Who cares that there's a roof on top of Rishus Harabim? It's not similar to the biblical Rishus Harabim in the journey of Bnei Yisrael in the Midbar. When they walked in the Midbar, right? It was called then Rishus Harabim, as we saw in Perek Rishon. Then there were a lot of people walking there. They had no roof over their heads. I don't know, covered is not a roof, yeah? It's not, there was no roof. It was a regular open space, open air. And therefore, if it's not like the Mishkan, it's out of the game. It's not called Rishus Harabim. All very nice. Here comes trouble. Here we need to use some geometry and math, but not so hard. If you have the diagrams, it's really easy. Eini, frag the Gemara. The Gemara asks a question. Before we continue, I'll save you a lot of trouble by giving you a rather long introduction. So we know that in the Mishkan, they had, out of the 6 agolos, 4 agolos were used for kroshim. Beams, the kroshim, the beams. So you had 4 agolos, you had 48 kroshim. So even I know that each one had 12 kroshim. Yeah, okay. So each agolo, the agola size was 5. Remember the sizes. Do yourself a favor and memorize the sizes. The agolas were 5 over 5. Okay, fine. Now the 5 of the sides that include the wheels, yeah, was 5 including the wheels. Okay, including the width of the wheels, and the front was also 5. So you have 5 over 5 of the agolas. Very nice. Each one would have to basically carry 12 kroshim. Either they stack them up. How stable it was is another shaila. Leave it for later. They either stacked up. We're going to see 4 groups of 3 kroshim each, right? Or 3 groups of 4 kroshim, or 4 groups of 3 kroshim. Okay. Now the kroshim size, the length, the height was 10 amos, as we know from the Chumash. So it was 5 in the middle to make it stable. 2.5 jutting on this side, and 2.5 protruding on the other side. And the 4 agolos would drive through the midbar, through the Machne soil. Imagine yourself, 4 agolos, 5 over 5, with the kroshim sticking out. Yeah, 5 in the middle, stabilizing, 2.5 here, and 2.5 over there. And each agolo is next to the other one, 2 and 2. So basically, the middle between the 2 agolas will be completely covered, because the Rishus Harabim of the Mishkan was only 16 amos. Yeah, as we're going to discuss, we'll discuss exactly the distance, but Begadol, the middle between the agolos, it's all covered with the kroshim. The kroshim themselves, yeah, would cover the agola and the airspace between the 2 agolos and the sides, the ones near the parking areas, yeah, near the tents. Okay. Now, each keresh, the size, besides the 10 amos height or length, the size itself was 1 over 1.5. That's all the portion of the Torah. Having that in mind, okay, so we have a space of 5 of the agola. So far, we can manage with our diagrams. It's all there. 5. Imagine yourself, you have to put in 3 or 4 stacks of kroshim, which are either put them on the narrower side of 1 amma, or you put them or you lay them on the broader side and the wider side of 1.5. And then it takes up most of the space of the agola. So without going even to the nitty-gritty, most of the agolos and the area all around them, as you were traveling in the midbar, was covered by kroshim themselves. And that poses a problem. The agolos themselves, the ganze area, was all covered with kroshim. And we're going down to the very small numbers soon. But it was covered. Although there was no awning, there was no cover made by the area or by whatever, by the kohanim. But lamaisa, if you would walk under the agolos, or under the koshim, you're lechora out of Rishus Harabim because it's covered. And we just said that covered is not Rishus Harabim, right? So why is that a problem? Let's see. Amy, is that so? Are you sure that covered area, a roofed area, is not Rishus Harabim? The agolos, the mekuras avian, I just explained to you very elaborately how. Agolos were covered by their own cargo, the koshim, and yet, okay, so maybe it's not Rishus Harabim. V'amar Rav mishum Rabchia, agolos, tachtein, if you happen to walk or you have an object under the agolo, ubeinehen, between the two agolos, between each pair of two agolos, between them, the tzidein means the sides of the agolo, the area of the wheel, reshus harabim, boom. It says that that area under the agola and between the agola is reshus harabim. Excuse me. He's not just saying the reshus harabim with the midbar was where the kids were walking and the people were walking with a no. It says that the area itself of the agolos was reshus harabim, and it was all covered by the kroshim. So you see that covered area is reshus harabim. That's a question in general without starting to measure. Okay, the question is easy. Answers the Gemara, and potential answer number one. So the Gemara, Kiko Marav Bedaroso. Rav speaks about the space between the agolos, between the kroshim. Okay, so I'm not going to even show you these pictures. Okay, let's go for here. Yeah, these are the 4 stacks of kroshim. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Between them, you have spaces, and if you are under those spaces, you have reshus harabim. You have spaces between the stacks, between the piles, and that's reshus harabim. Okay, zog the Gemara. Numbers don't make sense. We just learned yesterday, my friends, about the El concept, lovud. That's going to give us a hard time. Frag the Gemara, excuse me. How much is the size of the agolo, the length? It's really the same length, it's square, yeah? Chamesh amin, 5 amas. Okay, you have an area of the agolo 5 amin. Putya de keresh kama avoy, amta upalga. The pusya is the wider side. We assume that when they stack the kroshim, the width was, or the length, actually, I'm not sure. The wider part was how they stacked it up. So Amza Upalga. So they would have, okay, the kroshim sitting with the side that's wider or longer, the bigger, 1.5 on the agolo. Kama moisiv tloso. How many of them can you have? How many 1.5 amas can you have in a space of 5? Only 3. Not 4. 4 would be too much. So you have 3 stacks of 4 each, and they each one take 1.5. How much is 1.5 times 3? 4.5. 4.5. 3 times 1.5. Now, they were not all together. They were 1, 2, 3, and they would have even spaces between them. That's how you stack things up. It shouldn't all fall apart. Pashalei palga de amsa. If you have a total of 5, now you have 3 times 1.5. That's 4.5. How much open space do you have? Half an amma. How much is half an amma? An amma is 6 tfochim. Half an amma is 3 tfochim. But then you don't put them all in one place. You evenly space them out, right? You stagger them to be evenly with an even gap between them. So that those 3 tfochim, kishadi lemar beini ubeini, kilavudami. You have, how much did we have at the end of the day? Half an amma only. That half amma is 3 tfochim. 3 tfochim you divide into 2 gaps, right? 3 tfochim you divide into 3 gaps. This is not the story here. This is here. This is this story here. You have 3 groups. Yeah, 3 groups of 4, and in between them you have a space of how much? 1.5 tfochim. A total gap of 3 tfochim. You even it out. You space it out 1.5 each. 1.5. Wait, that's way below lovud. Helavudami. So that's not called uncovered. That's covered. How do you sit in your sukkah? You want to tell me if it all filled up? Lucky you. You have lavud every once in a while, right? So if you have a lavud of 1.5 here, 1.5 there, that's not called open. It's called halachically closed. Question. Therefore, the Gemara is not trying to tilt it, to change it. Do you think the kroshim are on the wider side, the bigger side? Maybe they really placed them on the narrower side of the 1 amma. Maybe they placed them 1 amma in a space of 5. You have 1, 1, 1, 1. So this one you can have more. You have 4 ammas, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And the amma and a half is upwards, it's vertical. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, on a space of 5. Okay, how stable it was, that will come later. Now, manachlu achudan, okay, achudan manachlu, and that solves the problem. No, fragdam or sof at the end of the day, it's true that he created the bigger gap, but still, sumcha de keresh kamahavi, amsa, right? The space that the keresh, each pile of kroshim is taking 1 amma from the narrower side. And you have 5 space, you have to put it for. Rashi says, don't tell me to put 5. You can't stoop too much. You can't, you have to have some space. Kama v'moisiv arbo. Do you know that 5 minus 4 is 1? We all know that. Even I know that. Pashala amsa. So you left with 1 amma. Now that 1 amma wasn't in the middle. That 1 amma was evenly divided between all 4. So now you have to divide 1 amma into 4. 1 amma contains 6 tfachim. 6 divided to 4 is very little. So each one is still tiny. You have 1 amma altogether, divided to how many? To 3, not 4, to 3 spaces. So you have 2 tfachim each. 6 tfachim is an amma. Each one 2 tfachim. Very good. 2 is better than before a little bit. Before it was 1.5. Now it's 2. Thank you very much. It's still avud. Now the Gemara is trying to save the situation. The Gemara is saying, we're going to see later Machloikis, tomorrow, Meretz Hashem, we'll see Machloikis Rabbi Nechemia and Rabbi Yehuda. They argue many times in Yinone Agadita. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia argue about the shape of the kroshim. We always imagine the kroshim as being upright and being the same size through and through. That's the opinion of Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Yehuda says that the kroshim were like conically shaped, like a tent, like a cone. They started this way and then they went upwards. So towards the end of the kroshim, they were at the size of an etzba, like a fifth of the tefach, a small size. So says the Gemara, you know what? Hani chalaman de omar kroshim milamatan ovyan ama milamalan kolim ochin ad keetzba shapir. Look at that. If you say like Rav Yehuda, then it's good. The kroshim here are thick 1 amma, but towards the end they become narrower, and the spaces between them obviously bigger. At the end they're like very tiny, so the space between them is gesund. He's more than 3 tfachim because they're very small. Then that's very nice. According to Rabbi Nechemia, that says that what? That the kroshim were the same width through and through. The bottom part and the top part were all the same thickness, same size of 1 amma. What are you going to say? Basically back to square one. Again, let's summarize. You want to tell me, the best you can tell me, that they were stacked up with 1 amma taking the width of the agola, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, each one three kroshim on top, and therefore have 1 amma left. That amma has to be spared, divided between them. 6 tfachim divided to 3 is 2 tfachim. It's still covered halachically. The spaces between them are very annoying lavud. Lavud. Wherever you look, this side, that side, it's covered. And Rav told me, B'Shem Reb Chia, that the area of the Agalos, not just the outside area, the Agalos area, as they were traveling, was Rishus Harabim. If he would, let's say the Agalos would be parking, they want to play ball, soccer under the Agalos, you'd be chayiv. The space underneath and between the Agalos, with the kroshim covering, would be Rishus Harabim. And yet it's covered. So we see Rishus Harabim is covered. Bang, bong, bang. And says the Gemara, Amav Kana, the atbi. That's the final answer. Atbi means one of two. You know it's a taba'as in Hebrew? I know you know it's a taba'as. Kaddish your wife. Basically, as we remember from the Mishkan, that between the kroshim themselves, the kroshim, as they were standing upright, there were berichim. It was all set brich hatichon, and two on top and two bottom, in the bottom, bolts. Those bolts were bolted inside rings. Those rings were obviously attached to the kroshim from the inside. What about those rings? They also took space. Basically, what we're saying now, in order for the rings not to clash into each other, you know how they would stack it up? Like this. We remain loyal to the space of four, of taking four spaces, but you'd have two attached to each other, another two touching each other adjacent, and an entire amma space in between. And that amma would have the rings. In order for the rings not to drive us crazy, it's like you're lying back to back with someone. In other words, the tabois would jut one way and the other way, and the two kroshim of each group, they were grouped into two groups of two kroshim, of two piles, and they would be like stuck in the back. So two attached. So the four was constricted to the two corners, to the two sides. In the middle, Mazel Tov. In the middle, we had an entire amma. You had an entire amma in the middle, and bingo, that's what we're looking for. That amma, if you move under there, you have a whole amma. Amma is 6 tfachim, that's way more than lavud. It's double lavud. It's absolutely a space. And if there you run around playing your game, doing your thing, that area of the agola through and through. The sides, the wheels, the middle, the tata, in between, there is one continuous amma going through and through between the two piles of two kroshim, two stuck together, another two adjacent, it became a free amma. Rashi gives another pshat to atboy. I don't know if you know the words atav. We don't hang, we don't hang, no, we don't hang washing anymore on the washing line. Atav is a pin. Remember your children maybe think it's called atav. Those things I remember from the 70s. Atav means when you have two. Rashi brings it out. It's a word from the Gemara. Atav is when you have two pieces together stuck to each other. Rashi says that's what's called atbe. He has all different pshat. He claimed that the boss wasn't such a trouble. Lo meshane. At the end of the day, it's the same pshat. The two are stuck together. The other two not stuck with a glue. I mean, the two are lying together. The other two are adjacent. Yeah. What? Yes, pegs. Thank you for the word. And in the middle, you have an entirely free space, a whole gap of one amma. That's the amma. You okay? Why?
Exactly. I know we're going wrong, but you know, like then under
because that area is exposed. Yes. Back the Gemara, another question before we finish off. Now, that the Gemara is asking similar, different question. There are three areas we talk about, right? There's the agola itself, under the agola, under the wheels of the agola. There's a space in between the two agolos covered by the kroshim, but we have a space, and also the other sides, and also the wheels. Fact the Gemara, let's focus now about somebody that is doing something, kicking or pushing something under the actual agola. Fact the Gemara, atmi echamanachlu agava the agola. Where were those kroshim? As nicely as we managed to figure out the shape, and by the way, I promised you, and now I'm now keeping to my promise. Rashi says the reason why they keep them stuck together, two and two, because this way they stick together better. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, they sway much more. If you have two and two together, some are held with the tabois and two corners, yeah, they're much more safe. When you stick two and two together, two things that stick better. Also, the Gemara later on will say, I think in daf from now, the Gemara will say there was a Ben Levi, there was an extra amma or half an amma for Levi to always walk alongside the kroshim, that if they fall, he would quickly pick them up. That's basically like a police escort, that if one of the kroshim will start falling, he would quickly arrange it. But the Gemara asks the following question. Where are the kroshim located? Agava the agola. They're on top of the agola. Agola gufim. The agola itself is covered. Why? The Gemara assumes the agola's floor was a floor. The Agolas floor was all there. It's all closed, right? Like the bottom of your car, I hope has no holes, right? So therefore, who cares about the caution? We're wasting energy here. Who cares about the Mela decides between the Agolas, fair enough. There's space. Under the Agola, it's just all it's covered, meaning the area like under your car. Between the bottom of your car, the flat tire and the road, it's all covered. You don't call that Rosh Hashanah. And says the Gemara, Mashmul be a Seidos. No, these agolas were not all covered. Rashi says our agolas that are made to bring wood, they are not all covered. The floor is not all filled. The floor actually has a crisscross of, of basically not all full. It has holes in it, and so it was in the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, there were yesedos. They had pegs. Yeah, they had nobody sat there. Nobody drank his coke over there, yeah. They just needed to put the kloshim, and for that, to have space in the bottom was fair enough. And that was a shape with way more than love in between each one. So therefore, it's good. Very nice. Oh, Hashem. Are you good? Yeah. Okay, let's wrap things up. Obviously, the conclusion is very clear. When you walk down the street, Machane Yehuda, it's also. But let's say somebody takes something from a building in Machane Yehuda into the street, and the street is covered properly, or even if it's lovud, you're potter. Because when it's properly covered, it's not called Rosh Hashanah, it's a Karmelis. Why are the goals called Rosh Hashanah? Because with all the balagan of the Kroshim, there was one Amma through and through that was absolutely exposed. And if you would play your games over there, you do stuff over there, you have. And if you go under the Kroshim, then it's covered. Then no, then I would finish here. Tana Abanan is a new thing, and okay? Yeah, we can continue a little bit if you don't mind. Tana Abanan, we actually touched on it. Kroshim melamatan ovian ama. The kroshim in the bottom, there were one ama thick. They would taper. They would taper up and up and up. Ad ke'etzba. In other words, yeah, the kroshim would be one ama going up like a pyramid, laconically shaped, tapering all the way up until they reach the size and the top of an etzba of a finger. Shenema yutamim al roishoy. What's tomim? More than one meaning to tamim. Tam also means to finish. Tamu nichrasu, finish. Tam v'nishlam. Tam means to end. So they ended up. The kilo came to an end. They came to the minimum amount. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Nechemia Omer, no. Keshem shel lamata novian ama, kach melamala novian ama. Shenema yachdov. Yeah? Rabbi Nechemia says, no. Yachdov means together. It's all the same size. Yachdov means they're all shavos. They're all equal, all standard. Just like the bottom is an amma, as is before in the Torah, so to the top is an amma over an amma and a half. Atzlacha Bracha, thank you very much. Please be with us tomorrow. Atzlacha, thank you to everyone who watches the Torah anytime. So many views. Can I know this is yours as a gift from me, from Dirshu? Yeah. The Dirshu. Thank you to Rabbi Avram Fuchs. He gave us very nice. Avram Fuchs from Dirshu has been very helpful in arranging and advertising. Thank you so much. Atzlacha bracha to all of you. Thank you.